My name is Elena Vargas. I am 35 years old and work as a real estate manager. I married Alexander 8 years ago. Since then my life has been an emotional roller coaster, especially because of my relationship with my mother-in-law Carmen. When I first met Alexander, he lived in a small rented apartment. I already owned a beautiful house in one of the best neighborhoods in the city. I had bought it years earlier when I decided to invest my life savings in real estate. Why does a single woman need such a big house? That was the first thing Carmen said when she met me. I did not answer, I simply smiled. After all, she was Alexander's mother. We married in an intimate ceremony. Carmen insisted we move somewhere more suitable to start a family. But Alexander and I chose to stay in my house. This never sat well with my mother-in-law. The problems began when Valeria, Alexander's younger sister, announced her engagement 6 months ago. Valeria had always admired my house. I never imagined that admiration would turn into something darker. Elena, we need to talk, Carmen said one Sunday during a family dinner. Valeria is getting married and James has an excellent job as a surgeon. They need a worthy place to live. I felt Alexander tense beside me. I knew what was coming. Your house would be perfect for them, Carmen continued. After all, you and Alexander can live anywhere. You do not have children to consider. That last comment hurt deeply. Alexander and I had been trying to have children for years without success. Carmen knew it. Mom, I don't think that's appropriate, Alexander began. But Valeria interrupted him. Please, Elena. It has always been my dream to live in this house. James and I could raise our children here. You cannot even do that. Alexander raised his voice, but the damage was already done. I stood up from the table in silence and walked out to the garden. Tears threatened to fall, but I refused to give them that satisfaction. During the following weeks, the pressure increased. Carmen called constantly, sent messages, and even showed up at my office once. You are a stranger in this family, she told me. If you really loved Alexander, you would want the best for his sister. Alexander tried to defend me, but I could see how the situation was affecting him. His relationship with his family deteriorated day by day. One night after another disastrous family dinner, I made a decision. All right, I said during breakfast. We will sell the house. Alexander looked at me in surprise. Are you sure? You don't have to do this. I want peace, I replied simply. When I gave the news to Carmen, her face lit up. She immediately called Valeria, who appeared at our door in less than an hour. I can't believe you finally came to your senses, Valeria exclaimed. She was already making plans about how she would redecorate every room. There is only one condition, I said. We will use my real estate agency to handle the sale. Carmen frowned. Why can't we use the agent James knows? Because this is my house and these are my conditions, I answered firmly. They agreed, though reluctantly. Carmen even organized a small celebration that weekend. At last we can be a true family, she said, raising her glass, without strangers interfering. I simply smiled. On Monday, my real estate agent Matteo would arrive with the necessary papers. With him would come a revelation that would change everything. What Carmen and Valeria did not know was that during the last 5 years, while they looked down on me for being just a real estate agent, I had been quietly building my empire. I was not only the owner of my house but of most of the properties in the neighborhood. And Matteo would bring all the documents that proved it. Monday arrived faster than expected. Carmen and Valeria insisted on being present when Matteo brought the documents. James, Valeria's fiancé, also came, probably to make sure everything was legal. Good morning, everyone, Matteo greeted as he entered. His briefcase contained more than just the papers for my house, but no one knew it yet. Let's finish this quickly, Carmen said, practically jumping with excitement. Valeria has an appointment to see new curtains later. Matteo looked at me, waiting for my signal. I nodded slightly. Before proceeding with any sale, Matteo began. We need to clarify some details about the property. What details? James asked, frowning. It is a simple property transfer. Matteo took out a thick folder. Actually, it is more complicated than that. This house is part of a larger trust. A what? Valeria looked confused. A trust, I repeated, standing up. You see, this house is not just an individual property. It is part of Vargas Elite Properties LLC. Carmen laughed nervously. What does that have to do with us? We just want to buy this house. The problem, Matteo continued, is that this property cannot be sold individually without approval from the board of the trust. What board? James asked, now clearly irritated. Mine, I answered simply. I am the owner and CEO of Vargas Elite Properties LLC. This company owns not only this house but 23 other properties in this neighborhood. The silence that followed was deafening. Carmen had gone pale while Valeria looked around as if seeing the house for the first time. That can't be true, Carmen stammered. Mateo began taking out more documents. Here are the property titles, the company records, the lease contracts. But, how? Valeria seemed about to cry. While you were busy looking down on me for being just a real estate agent, I explained, I was building my business. Every property I sold in this neighborhood, every commission I earned, I reinvested. I bought houses, renovated them, and rented them out. And yes, everything is in my name, not Alexander's. James, who had been reviewing the documents with growing concern, finally spoke. It means, I interrupted, that if you want to buy this house you will have to negotiate with my company. Not with me personally. And as CEO I have some concerns about the potential buyers. What concerns? Carmen asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. Well, for starters, the hostility shown toward the founder and CEO of the company is not a good sign. Also, the discriminatory comments about my ability to have children could be considered harassment. Valeria began to cry openly. But you said you would sell. I said I would consider selling. And after careful consideration I have decided it would not be a smart business decision. Alexander, who had been watching everything in silence, finally spoke. All this time, why didn't you tell me? I turned to him, my heart beating hard. This was the moment I feared most. I needed to know. I needed to know which side you would stand on when your family showed their true colors. Whether you would defend me for who I am, not for what I have. Carmen stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. You have been deceiving everyone. No, Carmen, I replied calmly. I have been working hard and building something for myself. Something that ironically you have been trying to take from me precisely because you did not know it was mine. James began gathering his things. Valeria, let's go. This is a waste of time. But Valeria did not move. On her face was an expression I had never seen before, shame. The silence was broken by the sound of heels on the floor. Carmen headed toward the door but stopped before leaving. You have destroyed this family, she said without turning around. No, Carmen, I answered softly. You did that when you decided that money and properties were more important than respect and love. After Carmen, James, and Valeria left, I remained alone with Alexander. Mateo had discreetly said goodbye, leaving all the documents on the table. Alexander approached the papers and began reviewing them one by one. His hands trembled slightly. All this time, he murmured, every time my mother criticized you for your work, every time Valeria mocked your small real estate office, you were building something bigger. Something that started long before I met you. I completed his sentence. Alexander looked up. Why didn't you tell me? I sat beside him. At first it was for caution. I had worked too hard to risk anyone interfering. Later, when I saw how your family treated me, it became a test. I needed to know if you loved me for who I am. Not for what I have. If you would defend me when I had nothing to offer except my love. Alexander ran his hands over his face. And I failed that test. Not completely, I said softly. You tried to defend me in your own way. But yes, you could have done more. The silence stretched between us like an abyss. What does this mean for us? He asked finally. That depends on you, I answered. Now you know the truth. You know who I really am and what I have built. The question is, can you handle being married to someone who has more success than you? Alexander looked me straight in the eyes. It is not the success that worries me. It is the trust. How can we have a marriage without trust? Trust is earned, I replied. I had to earn your trust so you would love me for who I am. Now you have to earn my trust to show you can be the partner I need. The following weeks were difficult. Valeria tried to apologize several times but her words sounded empty. Carmen refused to speak to me or even acknowledge my presence at family gatherings. Alexander and I began couples therapy. It was his idea, which pleasantly surprised me. I want to be better, he told me. For you, for us. 6 months later things have changed significantly. Valeria cancelled her wedding with James. It turned out he was more interested in her potential inheritance than in her. Now she is in therapy working on her own insecurity issues. Carmen is still Carmen, but she no longer has the power to hurt me. Alexander finally set firm boundaries with her, something he should have done years ago. As for my business, it continues to grow. Alexander has proven to be an invaluable support, not because I need his help, but because he genuinely celebrates my successes. And last week we received the most unexpected news. I am pregnant. After years of trying, it finally happened. When I gave the news to Alexander, he cried with joy. Do you know what is the best part of this? He said while hugging me. That our child will have a mother who will teach him that success does not come from taking what others have, but from building something for yourself. Carmen and Valeria learned about my pregnancy through Alexander. I have not received any congratulations from them, and that is fine. I have learned that family is not about blood or last names. It is about respect, love, and mutual support. As for the house, it remains mine, or rather, it belongs to Vargas Elite Properties LLC. And every time I look out the window toward the neighborhood I have helped build, I remember that true success is not in what you possess, but in staying true to yourself. Even when others try to make you doubt, the people who tried to take what was mine ended up losing something much more valuable, my respect and the opportunity to be part of my life and my future child's life. And that is perhaps the most important lesson of all. Thank you for listening to today's story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next story.